telling those same 5 stories. You're talking about falling in love, having babies, arguing with your mom, all those things that we all say. And I think that we'll get to a point where we don't think every story is different because the person telling it doesn't look just like us. That we'll understand that most stories, unless they're about race, can be told by almost anybody. And you know, every now and then they'll do a mix-up version of an American play, usually a white American play, and cast all kinds of people in it, sometimes all black folks, like Trip to Bountiful, and it does just fine. And the exotic nature of, oh my God, this play has an all-black cast, I think that will fade. And people will realize if it's a good story, anybody can hear it, anybody can tell it, anybody can receive it, unless it's specifically dealing with race. Then you got other questions. Unless it's specifically dealing with gender, then you've got other questions. But those 5 stories that we all tell as human beings, I think we are more and more realizing that it doesn't have to be our specific story. And I think most of us who are not defined in this country as the mainstream have grown up that way. We read all kinds of stories and identify. I remember reading Gone with the Wind as a little girl in Detroit, and my mother was just through because I was loving it. I mean, it's really well written and all that, and my mother saw me reading it. Very political family I grew up in. And my mother said, if you're going to read that book, you need to understand that the people you need to be crying about are not Miss Melanie and not Miss Scarce. And Abby, because that's you. So don't you be trying to talk about Miss Scarlett and know you want a 17-inch waist because she had a 17-inch waist. No, that was not you. You better be looking at what was happening with the prissy. And I said, wow, my mom is so hard. You can never get to just like the story. But of course she was correct. This is a story about slavery. So it's a very complicated deal to be a little black child growing up in an all-black neighborhood and identifying with a slave owner. She was correct. But it also proved to me the power of the writing in that book. Whether or not you think it's a great book or not, once you start reading it, you want to know what's going to happen to Miss Scarlett, what's going to happen to this one, what's going to happen to that one, in a way that catches you up and takes you into very weird places if you are the people who are enslaved in that story. But which also makes you really say, about time Rhett Butler stood up for himself at the end and walked away, or about time this happened or that happened. Which is when you realize that the narrative is more powerful than even the things that you know. Even me growing up in a black nationalist household with a mother who said, you better be looking at Mammy and not looking at Scarlett. I'm under the covers at night with a flashlight trying to read about what happened to Melanie and Scarlett. So race is such a complicated thing, but writing is such a powerful thing that it can skew all of that. It can make you look at things in a way that you didn't think you would. Even when you go into it thinking you know exactly how you're going to feel, you really don't. And it's important, I think, that we keep talking about race when it's on our mind. And when it's not on our mind, let's talk about whatever it is. Because sometimes it's not going to be race. We don't only and always talk about race. You know, sometimes we talk about other stuff, right? I mean, in all, we talk about everything. So I think that's right. I think those are the narratives that are the ones that bring us together and why we can read things from cultures completely different and still cry with those people. Because it's that human thing.
I just